Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Gianluca Masi speaking on the behalf of the Virtual Telescope project, and it's such a pleasure to be here once again to talk about Comet C 2023 A3 Tsuchinshan-ATLAS. I must tell you immediately that unfortunately the weather here is badly cloudy and we cannot attempt to observe the comet. I'm sorry for this, but you know, we can really control the weather, and we will try in a couple of days to observe the comet again. But I scheduled this live feed not because the comet was today at the best observing conditions. On the contrary, seeing the comet today will be very difficult because the comet is very close to the sun with the very strong interference by the bright twilight soon after sunset on the western horizon. I just scheduled this event because we wanted to try to have a glimpse on the comet, because in the past the Virtual Telescope project really made incredible things, but unfortunately this evening clouds decided to cancel any residual probability for us to have a look. Despite this, I decided to host this live feed because I wanted to tell you about this comet in order to support your curiosity and hopefully promote observing this comet for you to have fun, to have your own experience with this comet. First of all, I want to show you an image of the comet, just saying how the comet is looking right now, and here it is. This image is coming from the SO spacecraft, which is of course in space, and you can easily see the comet in this image. Consider then the sun is in the very center here. This is the LASCO 3 instrument on board, available as part of the SOHO mission. And the sun is just artificially eclipsed by that opaque circle in the center, so you can see the comet on the right, and you can see it is very bright. Just for a comparison, look on the west, that is on the right, and there is a dot, relatively bright dot. If you move from the center horizontally to the left, just before the border, you see a bright cluster of pixels, and that is planet Mercury. Right now planet Mercury is shining around magnitude -1, so the comet is right now very bright because of the forward scattering. So right now the comet is peaking in brightness, but as I said, it is hard to see this comet on this very day, despite the peak in brightness, as I said, because of the position in the sky. We wanted to try via our telescopes because it was well possible to identify this comet soon after sunset, before the comet set, via our telescopes, but as I said, the clouds made this impossible. I had records from people around the world who succeeded looking at this comet at daylight, of course taking carefully every attention to avoid looking at the sun. Please do not try to observe this comet during the day for a couple of reasons. First of all, because this could be extremely dangerous. You can really lose your vision forever. You can damage your eyes forever. And this is something really to avoid. And also because the comet is not so spectacular at all in the in daylight. It is just visible, if you are a skilled observer, just a very fuzzy object through a binocular. So do not try looking at the comet by day. Also because in a couple of days this comet will be easily placed in the western sky soon after sunset. So I would like just to give you a few hints, if you don't mind, to hopefully support your own experience looking at this comet. And before I start doing this, I also want to thank the technological partners of the Virtual Telescope project. They are Software Bisque, C-Web, and Telescope Live. And I also want to thank all the international media which featured our live feed, making possible for you very likely to learn about this opportunity. So I also want to thank the people joining the chat. I see there are people from different places, Italy, USA, and more people joining this live feed. So unfortunately, we will not see the comet this evening because it was cloudy and the comet is now already setting, and no matter the sky, even if the sky was clear, it was a demanding task because, as I said, the comet today is pretty close to the sun. In conjunction with the sun, it is between us and our star, making observing the comet from Earth quite hard. And of course, even succeeding, it will be one of those observations made, as they say, for the record, because today the comet is everything then spectacular. So I'm happy to be here, no matter the weather, to introduce observing this comet. Well, this comet is, as I said, C2023 A3 Tsuchinshan-ATLAS, and it has been discovered by the Purple Mountain Observatory in China on January 2023, and it has been independently discovered by the ATLAS survey with one of their telescopes in South Africa on February of the same year, 2023. So this is why this comet is recognizing both the discoverers, having both their names, Tsuchinshan and Atlas, in its name. So the comet was discovered, as I said, very early in 2023. And since it was discovered, it was clear that this comet was going to be very interesting in 1.5 years after the discovery, that is more or less now. Of course, at the time it was just simple speculation because it is pretty hard to make, to forecast something about comets, to predict how a comet will look in the future. And I want to show you, just to have an idea, an image of that comet a few weeks after the... Here it is, an image I collected in May 2023, so less than 3 months after the discovery was announced. And you can easily see it was very hard to even imagine that that pale, fuzzy object could put a show, the amazing show we know is now up there in the sky. So, but the probability to have something amazing was clear since the beginning, with the large uncertainty just traveling with comets. As we astronomers say, comets are like cats. They have a tail and they do exactly what they want. So there are many comets which had predictions to put on amazing shows, but they really disappointed that prediction. And there are also comets with basically which made no rumors at their discovery time, but they turned out to be fantastic. So even this time, after the discovery, we were, excited about the perspective to have a nice show, but still we were very careful. But we tracked this comet, I would say, night after night, and 1 month later, a few weeks later, I captured another image, and you can see this image here, of course. And I hope you can recognize where the comet is. It's an arrow, and perhaps you can recognize it is not a star. Please keep in mind one thing. Comets, like every object belonging to the solar system, are orbiting the sun, so they are moving in the sky over the time. So if you are taking long exposures in order to collect their faint light, you have to track their motion. This is why stars are leaving little trails, longer streaks, just due to the telescope tracking the comet in this case. Okay? And Image after image, we enjoy this comet developing, and here we can start seeing a clear evidence of the coma, because a comet is basically an icy body with rock, water ice and dust. And when the comet is close enough to the sun, just the radiation, the heat coming from the sun is making this object just releasing. Imagine the comet nucleus like a cage, okay? And this cage is just keeping inside like prisoners dust and gas, okay? Once this cage is basically opened thanks to the solar radiation, to the heat coming from the sun, what was inside is now set free, and the dust is able to build the coma, and the solar radiation can push that dust and even the gas away, making the famous tails. This is a comet made very easy in my explanation, very easy, not very precise, but just to give you an idea. So the sun is playing a primary role to make the cometary show important. So the comet is important as well the sun, and it's heat and high energy, and it is the interaction between the sun and the comet putting on the cometary show, just to make this clear. And when the comet is close enough to the sun, it starts experiencing the effects of the solar high energy, the solar radiation, making a coma more and more visible while it is coming closer and closer, and at some point it can even develop a ion tail, that is a gas with the effects of the solar radiation, like atoms who have loosened electrons, so being ions, you know. Anyway, this image is coming from August 2023, and then a few months later, 24th of January 2024, this year, that is 9 months ago, more or less, 8 months ago, a bit more, you can see how the comet is looking more like a comet, because its coma now is pretty evident, and you can at this point track its beautiful evolution. And 1 month later, it was 18 February 2024, I really appreciated how the comet was developing, and it was perfectly online, by the way, with predictions. And so week after week we were more confident that the comet could perform as hoped. But as I said, with comets you never know until the very last moment. This image is coming from early last March. I think that now you can easily recognize this is a comet with a typical coma, and even an hint pointing northwest of a small tail of dust. 1 month later, here we are. Look how beautiful this is. 5 of April, 6 of April, and then late April. Look how the dusty tail is now so prominent, and the comet is of course clearly traveling against the starry sky, as clear from here, because the telescope tracked the comet and the stars are leaving dotted trails on the background, because the images were taken, as I say, tracking the comet. A couple of days later, or if you prefer, a couple of evenings later, and for some time, Comet C 2023 A3 Tsuchinshan-ATLAS kept this appearance very typical for this comet for many months. Here we are in May 2024, I would say 1 year after my first image. Just to give you an idea about how much this comet developed in 1 year. Look, I want to show you again this image. This is May 2023, okay? And this is 1 year later, May 2024. Needless to say, every time we observed the comet, we tried to update the predictions, and we had to say that the comet was performing very well. It looked as an healthy comet, and this, of course, fitted our expectations. Look, this is the dusty tail, because for many months this comet has been dominated by its dusty tail. Then it started showing in very good images taken under excellent skies from the desert. It showed a faint gaseous tail. Again, here I want to share with you some of the images taken last June via the Virtual Telescope Robotic Facility, while the comet was becoming harder and harder to see because it was approaching the so-called conjunction. That is, it was apparently moving in the direction of the Sun. And of course, that made the comet harder and harder to see, but this was necessary also because the comet was slowly approaching its minimum distance with the Sun, that is, its perihelion. Something happened on September 27. I'm amazed to see the images we collected here, the Virtual Telescope project, at some point every clear night, every week or so. Look how beautiful these images are, taken with different telescopes, sometimes having larger field of view. This is our last image before the comet went in conjunction with the Sun. This is an image taken, as you can easily see, 8th of July last summer, so just a couple of 3 months ago. So this coverage basically is showing what the comet did before perihelion, and I managed to make this final poster using a selection of images, and just showing how the comet developed. On the upper left you have our last image before conjunction. On the bottom right you have the first image after the discovery, and it is about 14 months of evolution of Comet C 2023 A3 Tsuchinshan-ATLAS. At that point the comet was in conjunction with the Sun, but it was tracked with the spacecrafts, because from space you can easily handle, you can easily find a workaround with objects close to the Sun. And in fact, even these very days we have been tracking the comet thanks to the SOHO spacecraft, as I showed at the beginning of the slide feed. But we have been waiting for the comet to show back in our sky in the morning this time, and the first observations were made by from Australia. I must say that the southern hemisphere, that after our summer until now, the southern hemisphere has been had the privilege to be placed to have the best condition to look at the comet. And in fact, marvelous images were received from the southern hemisphere. But from today things will change, and this image, very poor I must say, is an exceptional image by itself, because I captured this image on 24th of September, 3 days before the perihelion. Several people believed that this comet could not survive to the thermal stress due to the perihelion, that is, the comet at the minimum distance from the Sun. But me and many other colleagues were basically sure that the perihelion was not a problem for this. Consider then on the day of its perihelion, that is the day of its minimum distance from the Sun, this comet was just 60 million kilometers far away from our star. So pretty close. Our planet Earth is about 150 million kilometers away. So about 3 times more distance from the Sun than the comet on its perihelion day. But the comet survived, as myself and many other scientists believe it, because we really had no hints of health issues for this comet, and we are happy that this comet is still very healthy. For the record, this image was the very first to be collected above 40 degrees north of latitude, and a few days later I managed to take a better image. The difficult thing here was that the comet was incredibly low in the eastern horizon, just only minutes before dawn, that is in a bright twilight. So imagine the worst imaging condition. We had those worst conditions, and we could capture this image anyway. And this is the last image I could capture before the comet prospectively moved again in the direction of the Sun, this time between us and our star. So again, becoming once again difficult to be observed. And on the same day, I managed to take this image of the comet just in the light, in the twilight at dawn. I find this image very beautiful. The horizontal lines are electric cables in the beautiful Maremma landscape in Tuscany, where our facility is, a very beautiful region here in Italy. And after September 30, I could not image the comet anymore because terrible weather decided to move, plenty of clouds and rain, and this is lasting so far. We are confident that in a couple of days we should have much better weather conditions and we will succeed observing the comet. And needless to say, we already scheduled an event for this, by the way. Take note of this, because our live feed coming on October 12 will cover the comet on a very special day, when the comet will be at its minimum distance from our planet. So take note, we already scheduled this live feed on YouTube, and you can already ask YouTube to send you an alert when this feed is approaching. Really, save the date, because I do expect wonderful images, weather permitting, needless to say. So friends, right now this comet is like in the Lascaux image. This image was taken less than 2 hours ago. You can easily recognize the dusty tail, just as you can see it is just lying on the orbit direction. This is why this dusty tail is not in the opposite direction of the Sun. You know, many people say, oh, the cometary tail is always pointing in the opposite direction than the Sun. This is true for a gaseous tail, which is experimenting effects very different from those of this dusty tail, which is just particles along the cometary orbit. Okay. And at this point, again, I remind you about this precious event scheduled, as I said, for the day the comet will be at its minimum distance from us. As you can see, I'm happy to see many friends from Italy, Scotland, the US, Canada, Venezuela. So happy, really. Astronomy has the power to make people connecting, gathering, and having a good time together without any border. You know, this is something I've been loving since the beginning of the Virtual Telescope Project experience. The project started 18 years ago, by the way. As you can see, we will never ask for money to the people to look at the night sky through our amazing technology, but of course we had to face maintaining this demanding complex system. So I always remind you that you can contribute keeping our project alive. From time to time we face very hard moments. I can say that several times I've been close to stop the Virtual Telescope Project, but thanks to a few friends it was possible to keep this project alive. So please consider supporting the Virtual Telescope Project. You can do this right away quite easily. Just visit www.virtualtelescope.eu/donate and discover what you can do to support us. What we have been doing is out there. It has been out there for 18 years, and the legendary reputation of our project is easy to be checked. Just surf the internet with the Virtual Telescope Project. You will find we are regularly featured on the New York Times, CNN, BBC, and other important media, just to tell you how serious our project is, and you may be happy and proud to support our project. Just a quick note before we close this live feed about visibility. Please prepare to enjoy this comet yourself. We will be happy to bring perhaps very good images to you via the Virtual Telescope Project thanks to our next live streamings, but please don't miss the opportunity to enjoy the comet yourself. It will be quite easy in a couple of days when the comet will be naked eye visible to the naked eye soon after sunset in the twilight, and it will move. It will climb the northern sky. It will be visible better and better, even if the comet will be fading by now, because the amazing luminosity, the brightness we spotted even in the SAW image is due to a very special effect, the forward scattering effect, which is a consequence of a dusty comet seen just almost in line with the sun from the Earth. But this geometry, very precious and very peculiar, is now going away, and as a consequence the comet will fade. But I believe that for the next 10 days we will have great opportunities to see the comet by naked eye. Keep in mind that there is also the moon out there, being a full moon, actually the super moon, the largest full moon of the year, on October 17, October 17, and this can interfere, of course, with the vision of the comet. I have one recommendation. Please start thinking now, if you want to see the comet by yourself, by naked eye, where to go to see the comet, because this comet is low on the western horizon. The western direction is easy to recognize. It is where the sun is setting, and make sure that where the sun is setting you don't have hills, mounds, trees, buildings, nothing, because those obstacles will make hard to see the comet when it will be low. And also consider that the comet right now, the tail is not in the opposite direction of the sun, as I said, because those dusty grains making the tail are just following the head of the comet being on its orbit. Okay, but this will change sometime in a few days, sorry, and but the comet is also fading, as I said. So choose a place, find a place, an observing site with no obstacles in the western direction. Go there just before sunset, and when the sun has gone, just look west, and I'm pretty confident you will see the comet. A bit, just you look west and just look at the increasing altitude, and at some point I'm pretty sure you will enjoy this comet. Okay, please try yourself, because having such a comet so bright is not happening every day, my friends. So you really don't want to miss this opportunity, otherwise you have to blame yourself for missing this opportunity, especially, and let me say this, if you have good weather. I cannot tell you, my friends, how much I will pay to have a warranty of great clear weather from now to the end of this month, but unfortunately I cannot ask anyone to find such a solution, you know. But still, I'm serious. Don't miss this opportunity. From October 11, for a few days before the moon will be too bright, you have a nice interval of days or evenings, if you prefer, to look at this comet by yourself, by naked eye. Needless to say, if you have a binoculars, bring binoculars with you, even a little telescope, but try everything, the binoculars as well, your own eyes, because seeing a comet by naked eye, with your own eyes, is always an unforgettable experience. And perhaps you remember this from Comet Neowise in July 2020. But this comet perhaps is different. Every comet is a different story, but we judge this comet to be even brighter than Comet Neowise. So while waiting for your own experience, your own naked eye observation of this comet in a couple of days by now, also save the date about October 12, when we will host another live feed covering Comet C 2023 A3 Tsuchinshan-ATLAS live again on the day of its minimum distance from our planet. Again, friends, I invite you to consider the possibility to support our project. We will never ask for money to join our live feed. Until this will be possible, I will keep all this for free. It has been for the last 18 years, since 2006, when the Virtual Telescope project started its adventure. But you know, there are bills to be paid. The technology we use is cutting edge technology, expensive technology. So consider supporting us, because everything you see here is running because I want it running, and I do a lot of effort to keep this running, because we don't have any kind of public funding. We just survive thanks to a few people, very few people, generous people, deciding to donate whatever they want, whatever they can, and this way we can pay the bills. Otherwise, this project will be already closed. So I want to thank all those of you out there, very few unfortunately, I must say, and just supporting our project. Anyway, if you can, consider. Otherwise, don't worry, you are welcome anytime, because the cosmos, the beautiful sky, belongs to everyone, my friends. That said, please save the date, as I said here, October 12. You can already find plenty of information on our website about this event. I'm looking forward to see you on board again, hopefully in good weather and a great, unforgettable view of Comet C 2023 A3 Tsuchinshan-ATLAS in a few days. That's all. Gianluca Masi, Virtual Telescope Project from Rome, Italy. Again, I want to thank our technological partners. They are Software Bisq, C-Web and Telescope Live. And again, I want to thank all of you supporting us over these 18 years, and it is thanks to you that this project is still around, able to share the beauty of the cosmos to everyone for free. Take care, my friends, and keeping finger crossed for the next event. Take care.